Hey kids, it's Jurassic James with Jurassic Explains, looking at Abelisaurus, or Abelisaurus, depends how you say it. So the idea is very simple. This is very important. I've noticed that the Jurassic World line, they only have one, has made a lot of Abelisaurs. I've been going over them again and again. And so now that there's just more of them, I can explain their story even better with this genus. There's another Abelisaur here, who I will be opening at a different time and or date. Let's make room. We're not going to find room. So let's see. What we're going to do here is look at the figure. So again, there's no other, that I'm aware of, there's no other figure of this being made. So let's go ahead and get this. Oh no. I have dropped the official scissors of Jurassic James. But like a sword and a stone, I have retrieved them. And here they are. So, as usual, we're going to... The body comes out pretty easy. Ooh, a lot going on there. Let's see. Huzzah. And we will receive the official scissors. Now, take that. You have little, wait. Take that and put it in here. Click. There's a little neural spine. Kind of just make sure those are aligned. Take the figure. How are we gonna? No. There we go. Look at that. All that audio action. So the idea with Abelisaurus, why is it so important to me? First and foremost, looking at this game, it's as the name implies, Abelisaurus. So what does that mean again? I keep mentioning it. So the idea is that if you find one kind of dinosaur, you give it a name. If you find more of the same, like not species, but something that's similar in a family, you would say, oh, it's the same family. So for example, we are humans, Homo sapiens, and there's Homo neanderthalis, Homo erectus, Homo habilis. So we're all like hominids, but we're different species. So the Abelisaurs are a group. And the reason this guy is so important to me is because, one, it's the namesake of the group. It's Abelisaurus itself. And so the idea is that it was first uncovered in 1983, and by someone named Abelisaur. His name wasn't Abelisaurus, but he was head director of the museum. And they didn't have the body. It was just, not even the whole skull. It was missing the mandible. It was just only this part, only the cranium, the top of the head. And so in that description alone, it was very clear that this was a different kind of thing. There were what we call roguse, R-O-G-U-S-E, roguse, like these little bumpy bits on the front, which is we've seen in the whole group. And over the eye, from what they found, part of the skull was like I think the right side wasn't really well preserved. And so initially, on this side of my cart, we have the Abelisaurus and Ceratosaur, and on this side we have the Carcharodontosaurs and Allosaurus. I'll explain more in a minute. And so the idea was, when it was the first of its type found, it was like, well, it's just new kind of predator, it's a new genus and species, give it a name. But then they said, wait a minute, in 1985, they found out finding more of these guys, and wait a minute, they're their own branch, right? And so as far as the figure goes, for Abelisaur, the first thing you're going to notice is the color pattern. Again, we don't know skin color dinosaurs, but I can tell you this is neat. It's really fun looking. That right there is the first thing that caught my eye when I bought it. It's just like a dewlap or something. The one thing that people say, what do you wonder at night about paleontology? Like stuff like that. Now there's no reason to think that this animal had that feature particularly. This is something that the toy designers just gave it to make it different from the other Abelisaurs. Notice they're all the same kind of animal with different species, whatever, etc., different coloration. But I mean, they probably had all kinds of weird stuff hanging off of them, or growing, or structures that are just not fossilized, right? And that's why paleontology today is so much more forensic in its nature. They're digging, and you're not just ripping stuff out of the ground. You're looking at things, you're mapping them out. It's really important. Earlier paleontologists didn't always do that the same way because it was a new science. They're trying to figure it out. And nowadays we do it because, one, it's just because science, but also preservation, but also for future generation of paleontologists to have better data for their own research. Many PhD people I talk to, or candidates for PhDs, talk about how they, this person at 18, whatever, found this thing in a bucket of bones. It's like, well, where did they find it? And they need that data because they named whole families off these things. So it's important to keep those records. Now, to put it back together more. So what's the big deal with this guy? It is a carnivore from South America. Basically, ooh, That's neat. Oh, the legs just do that. Okay, cool. I prefer my theropods horizontal, like this. It's just, I don't know, that kind of upward, that they're balanced enough, right? And so, again, the fact that you said, well, and for those of you who go, well, how do you know it didn't have that? I remind you, they only found that part, so this is entire speculation. But, I mean, having 4 digits is not unusual for the group. Having 3 toes in the front, 1 in the back, like that dew claw, that's very good. The claws are a little bit, the fingers, actually, 4 digits, are a little bit more long and pronounced than I would expect for a Abelisaur. But anyway, so, why is it important to us? Let me go over the family tree. This is not, I'm out, not, tease. I'm not going to open this now. This is a future video of some species, right? Because you want to know more about Abelisauruses and their family. And so, the one thing to point out is that the Abelisaurus, I call this group the Sons of Ceratosaurus. And what I mean by that is there's a book on the first Roman emperors, the ones who were all kind of related to each other. It's called the Sons of Cedar, right? And they weren't his biological sons per se, they were just descendants in his family, right? And they were his heirs, obviously. So Ceratosaurus is, in and of itself, the earliest thing that we can tie to Abelisaur. So these are all my, well, not all, I have more, but representatives of all my Abelisaur species. And so this is a Jurassic World Ceratosaurus. This is a Safari, if I remember correctly, 2012 Ceratosaurus. And so Ceratosaurus of the late Jurassic period, North America, and species in Tanzania, Africa, actually. And so it's from this lineage based on anatomy and all the other dinosaurs in its time and the ones we're finding in the Cretaceous period, it seems to be the ancestral group for this group here. Now, why is that important? The Abelisaurs have something that's unique to them, is that they all have these kind of like bulldog short skulls, comparatively speaking. Now, Abelisaurus itself had a unique thing where it had these, well, the holes in the skull for a dinosaur, why are they there? One, to house certain organs. One, makes the skull lighter. The proper term for that is fenestra. And so the idea is, which is the French word for window, actually. And so, or derived from that. And so Abelisaurus itself has these traits. Now, this one's found in Argentina, South America. Here we have Rajasaurus. I've done a video on like all of these guys. Rajasaurus from India. And there's no non-Jurassic World example. My newest, Majungasaurus from Madagascar. I thought it from Dinosaur Ridge in Colorado. A non-Jurassic World. This is a 2022. Yeah, that was the year I went there. 2022, 2023 I went out there actually. Dinosaurs. So you see how like there's something based more on reality versus Jurassic. So it's not too far off, but also it's very different, you know. And so another example of this, another South American Abelisaur is Scorpio venator. There's no non-toy Jurassic World toy of it. There's Cryptops, South America as well, but early Cretaceous. I have trouble saying this one's name so bad. When I did the video for it, I had to say the name over and over again. It was like Destiny's Child. Say my name, say my name. You know, those of you who were born in 2000 something have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm going to do this thing just on camera because it's funny to me personally. And I did it earlier, but my brain just won't take this thing. My brain, for some reason, well, the name again means explosion face because when they found it, its face like exploded. Literally, it was like, well, not exploded. The bones were like spread out everywhere, all the bits and stuff. Ecroxenatosaurus. Ecroxenatosaurus. For some reason, I just can't get that. So Ecroxenatosaurus, who's actually contemporary of Giganotosaurus, another South American, he said, wait a minute, these are all from South America, Argentina, but they're actually from slightly different rock layers, which is important later on. Quilmesaurus is here, which we did a video on this one as well. And then we have Rugops. Again, the last few did not. I made a video for this one, but it was so awful I threw it away. Yeah, there are stuff that's cut. And then here's a not Jurassic World Rugops. It is from Collect A. So there you go. This guy here. Not very many figures of Rugops out there. And finally, of course, the most famous of the Abelisaurs, and actually one of the last of the Abelisaurs, and is Carnotaurus, which I have the Jurassic World Hammond collection one here, and a very nice Carnegie 2010 here, like that. So Carnotaurus is not, it's ironic because Carnotaurus is the most unique or different of the Abelisaurs, yet it's the most well known. And so it's kind of funny, like if you had met like I was the first person you met in paleontology, you'd be like, oh, they're all silly and weird. And you meet like actual serious adults, and you're like, oh wait, he was just unusual. Okay, got it. So, with that being said, I'm going to strip away the official scientific models because we're doing the thing here. And I'm going to explain to you the connection between these guys and these guys. So, in general, I'm going to put you away because you're not, it's not your time. Your time is not yet. It's my time down here. Like after the Goonies, the kids are like, what's a Goonie? It's a different time, kids. So, the idea here is that one of the things, this is something that's only in my head, so just follow me here, is that these Abelisaurs and their Ceratops ancestor have this trait where we often, with two exceptions, we often find them as being not the top predator of their environment. What I mean, just being bigger than they are, right? And so, for example, in the Jurassic period, we have Ceratosaurus living with Allosaurs. Now, there were other members of the Allosaur group in the area. The other large predator, like Torvosaurus, was bigger than most of these guys, but they're very rare. So in general, we know very much about the Allosaurus and Ceratosaurus. This is a Allosaur from 2019 Safari. So again, science, ooh ah. And then, so the idea is that these are not quite the scale, but Allosaurus is larger, right? And so we're seeing this trait where there's always like this larger predator. So for Giganotosaurus, who here's the Jurassic World version of it, the Hammond Collection version. Here is a, ooh, where's the name? It's not on here. I don't see it. Oh, there it is, on the belly, still. 2017 Safari. So again, a bit of a difference here. I did a video on this animal. And so this guy lived with Exochanosaurus. These are sniffers. So again, you're seeing large Allosaur, Carcharodontosaur, and then small Abelisaur. There's one called, another large theropod, it's Giganotosaurus. Actually, one of his closest relatives is Mapusaurus, which I did a video on this guy too. Here is a collect a Mapusaurus. So again, same general. In fact, I mean, these are very speculative, but they look kind of similar. I mean, to the average viewer, they're very similar, right? The toys are very different here, but Mapusaurus shares an environment with Scorpiovenator as well as Argentinosaurus. So they're together. So if I mentioned earlier Cryptops, this guy here is found in the same environment as Carcharodontosaurus. Again, did a video on this one already. And my non-Jurassic World Carcharodontosaurus is 2016 Safari. So with that, very similar. I mean, they're built slightly different because they're different companies, but get the idea. What am I forgetting? Let's see. No. Sorry. Carcharodontosaurus shares this environment with Rugops. I don't know why they made it smaller, but anyway. I mean, Quilmesaurus is smaller, so that makes sense. Anyway, compared to the other ones. The other one, the Abelisaurus in general are between 15 to 30 feet, somewhere in that range. The Abelisaurus itself, we're not sure because we only have the cranium, the top of the head, but it's been estimated around 25, 27 to 33 feet, somewhere in that range. So Carcharodontosaurus is with Rugops, and then Eocarcharodontosaurus is with Cryptops. Now, I mentioned that there's exceptions to finding these larger predators. Carnotaurus is one of the exceptions in its environment. I don't think there's any larger predator. I think at that point in Cretaceous, these large carnotaurs had died out. Majangosaurus in Madagascar, again, keep digging. I don't think they found any large Carcharodontosaurs in Madagascar, but he's the top predator. Rajasaurus is also, I think they associate it with some Megaraptor relative. I'm not sure exactly. And so I don't have, and Abelisaurus is found in an environment where we don't find, it's a question of where it was, which the age of the layer, and where, it's a whole thing in the geology. When I dug in Utah after Jim Kirkland, they mapped out the entirety of the early Cretaceous North America, and that those units in Utah and surrounding area. That's really amazing. A lot of times in parts of South America or Asia, I'll see like this dinosaur could be from this time or this time. Like that's a huge gap, like that. It's because they're not sure of the rock unit itself, right? Okay, so here's why I'm gonna wrap it all up with this one major concept. Let's put you guys over here. So timeline wise and continental wise, I'm going to show you how this works. So in the late Jurassic, Ceratosaurus, you still see him? Where is he? Oh, his tail's there. So I'm going to do this. Should I have zoomed out more? Who knows? I don't know. So Ceratosaurus is here, and Allosaurus is here. So these are the forebears of these lineages, right? And so the next one on our list would have been, time-wise, this is 100, no, sorry. These two are 145 million years ago, roughly. Uh, this guy, Cryptops, and Eocarnatosaurus would have lived on 110 million years, or 20 million years ago. So there's a big jump from late Cretaceous, late Jurassic to early Cretaceous, which means there's something living throughout that time frame, but we haven't found them yet so far. So I will jump ahead and tell you that Carnotaurus is like right at the end of South America, late Cretaceous. Rajasaurus is very at the end, Maastrichtian. So when T-Rex is walking around, this guy's in India. Majugosaurus in Madagascar is doing the same thing. It is living in late Cretaceous, Madagascar. And this is where it gets kind of fun. So the idea here is about 100 million years ago. Let's make this make sense. Are they even on camera? Can you see them? Yes, you can. Cool. So the idea is that this guy is living 100 million years ago, Dinosaurs, and he's living with them. So again, they're there. So in South America, and again, these guys are in Africa at the same time, and then Abelisaurus and Scorpiopanator, they're all South American, like Cretaceous, but they're between 100 million years ago and like 75 million years ago. So they're different levels. So if you're digging, you wouldn't find any of these Abelisaurs in the same environment. You're going from you can move up a little bit, and so you're going from so you're like, why are there so many of this family, right? It's because there's different rock layers. So the idea is that when I can't remember who's older. Sorry, I think these guys are older. So Mapusaurus and this guy dies out. They're replaced by these guys. If they die out later on, different guys. So that's why there's so many of these guys. And so Abelisaurus, again, why does it matter? It is the first member of that grouping. And that's why I'm telling you all this. And that's why I've gone over my time limit. I try to shoot for 10 minutes. As you saw, sometimes I go for 20 or 30. Sorry. So the idea is that there's a lot to say, or if they're from different parts of the world. So this guy's these are from Africa versus South America. Most of the Abelisaurs found are South American. I remember just 2 days ago, I saw an article pop up, and it's like, new Abelisaur found in South America, Argentina. And I'm like, yeah, that's not news. It is news. It's important. But at the time, that's not unusual. If they find an Abelisaur in North America, that'll be news for me, because after Jurassic, there are no Abelisaur, or even Ceratosaurus family, but there are no Abelisaurs found in North America or Europe, or not Europe, Asia. And the idea is that the Tyrannosaurs rule there. And there are some comparisons between the Abelisaurs and Tyrannosaurs. Now, they are, first of all, way smaller than Tyrannosaurs. But the idea of having shorter arms, having shorter, more truncated, more stronger bites and things, that's something that we see in those two parallel groups. I did mention Europe. There are both Tyrannosaurs, mainly, well, a couple. There's, in England, there's Eutyrannus and an ancestor called Proceratosaurus. I did a video on a long time ago. That's tied to Tyrannosaurs. And there was one Abelisaur, I think, somewhere in modern Romania. It was like Jurassicosaurus, if I remember correctly. And so there's that kind of European crossover. But in North America and Asia, Tyrannosaurs rule. There are no Spinosaurs, no Abelisaurs. In the southern hemisphere, South America and Africa, we have the Carcharodontosaurids. We have the Abelisaurs. So we see so geography is very important, kids. So when you're taking geography classes, please pay attention, because I will always remind people that when I was training the tour guides at HMNS, Science Museum, many of them in college, many of them very brilliant people, they just did not know geography. So I would have to take time out of our training to go over basic geography and then tie it to the parts of the world of our tours. So learn it for free in school if you can. Anyway, so next time I do a dinosaur breakdown like this, we're going to see probably this guy or the Titanosaur. I got it for my anniversary. So we'll see. I don't even know. Isn't it exciting? Anyway, see you guys later. Thank you for tuning in.